And such disheartening stories coming out, especially when food security is one of the big pillars of this country. Now, I would like to give you some context. We'll be having a big conversation about this. My explainer is here. We have the millers with us. So we'll be speaking to Kennedy Nyaga, who is the Vice Chair of the United Millers Association, Dr. James Nyoro. But first, let me remind you of what the Cabinet Secretary Kiunjuri had to say yesterday that broke the hearts of many Kenyans. That even after that importation row that Enoch Sikole has just highlighted in his story, that a good portion of that maize is no longer fit for human consumption. Here's the CS.
The question I was asking KEBS, can you give me an undertaking that this maize should be condemned?
Condemning that maize. And if you remember, there was such hope when the Cabinet Secretary had promised that the ugali that you are eating right now would be affordable. This is what he said.
Bring down the retail price of 2 kg packets of unga to not more than 75 shillings.
And Kenyans were a happy lot. But the miller said not so fast. So tonight, we want to take a look at just what goes into producing your packet of maize flour, some of the costs that are included along the way, along this value chain. So let's take a look at it. This was the big promise from the Cabinet Secretary, which the President even alluded to. A 2-kilogram packet of flour going for 75 shillings. Is this practical? Was this a political statement? Was it rushed? Was there enough consultation on this matter? So this is the journey that your maize takes. So obviously it starts off with the farmer. Then the farmer takes it to the National Cereals and Produce Board, who then sell it to the millers, and we'll be giving you the price that the millers are currently buying it at, the average. Now please note that between NCPB and the millers, there is a transport cost that is included in there. We explained here the increased cost of transport due to that 8% VAT on petroleum products. So that just goes in there. The millers then have their own cost of production. They have to finance their overhead production costs. They have to take a look at electricity. They have to mill that maize into flour. And then there is a packaging cost that is included in that as well. From here, the millers then give it to the distributors. The distributors obviously also have a markup cost. They have to make profit. They're the ones who make sure that this maize gets from the miller to the retailer. Here again, there's another transport cost. Remember, the distributor is also a man who's in business, must make profit. It then gets to the retailer, who has his own costs. He has his own rent. That's a supermarket or your duka or your kiosk. Again, another transport cost here. So please note, there's a markup price here, there's a markup price there with your distributor, and then there's another markup price here by the time it gets to the shop, which is where you were supposed to buy it at 75 shillings, according to the Cabinet Secretary. But out of all of these costs, the major cost component of the flour is the cost of the grain itself. Currently now, this is the average cost, we are told, that the millers are buying it at from the National Cereals and Produce Board. There is a problem with this price if indeed you want it to be 75 shillings per 2-kilogram packet of flour. One, it would have to be lower than this cost, about 1,400 shillings, for you to be able to get it at 75. But here's the challenge. Is NCPB able to sell at less than 2,300, at 1,400? No. Why? Because during that importation, they got it from those importers at about 3,000 shillings per bag. Well, you could say if the millers don't want to buy it from NCPB because NCPB is not selling it cheaply, well, they can go directly to the farmers. The farmers are also hesitant to sell it at less than this price because it costs them close to 2,000 shillings to produce that bag of maize, because they have fertilizer, they have land rent, they have all of these costs that go into it. And they're saying we are spending too much money producing a 90-kilogram bag of maize to be able to sell it at 1,400. That would enable you to be able to buy your packet of maize flour at 75 shillings. Now here is where the millers and government then are speaking a different language. These are some of the data that we've gotten from the Ministry of Agriculture. They did this costing and said if they were able to sell a packet of maize flour at 76 shillings, the cost of maize would have to be 1,800. The millers have a different story. They say for them to be able to do it at 75 as prescribed by the government, they would have to buy it at 1,400. Where is the facts? Where are the data? Where is the truth that lies between these two? Because this is where the disagreement lies. That means that you cannot have that maize flour as cheaply as you would like it.